She left without a trace, and for 5 years, not a single answer. Karketa Taylor was just 27 years old when her name was quietly added to a growing list of the missing, those who vanish with no warning, no goodbye, no explanation. She lived in Columbus, Georgia, a city edged with calm suburban neighborhoods and busy urban intersections. She wasn't famous, but she mattered. To her family, to her friends, to those who knew the real Karketa, the woman with a soft voice and a hard work ethic, the young mother who balanced it all with quiet determination. Her days were structured: work, home, family, routines carved deep, almost like clockwork. People who knew her say she didn't just disappear. Something had to have happened. But what? On a warm day in June 2018, Karketa was last seen leaving her job at a local auto parts store. Surveillance footage showed her stepping out just after 5:30 p.m., purse in hand, walking to the parking lot. Her car was found exactly where she left it, the engine cold, the doors locked. Inside, nothing out of place, except for the fact that she was gone. She never made it home. She never called. She never sent a text. From that moment, she was simply missing. The timeline that followed was thin, almost agonizingly so. Her last known phone activity? A call to her sister earlier that afternoon, normal, even cheerful. The texts that followed gave no hint of distress, no indication that anything was wrong. It was as if she had been erased between one step and the next. Her family noticed almost instantly. By nightfall, concern had turned into fear. She didn't show up to pick up her daughter. Calls went straight to voicemail. The next day, her mother filed a missing person report. The police response was swift but quiet. They canvassed the area, pulled footage, spoke to co-workers. There were no signs of foul play, no immediate leads, and no one came forward. Nothing in Karketa's background pointed to danger, no criminal activity, no enemies, no hidden struggles that anyone could see. In the beginning, the case drew local attention. Flyers went up. Volunteers searched nearby wooded areas. Family members pleaded on the evening news. But weeks passed, then months, and then years. Whispers began to replace facts. Theories spread in hushed conversations. Abduction, voluntary disappearance, even trafficking. But none of it stuck. None of it could be proven. And for her family, the worst part was not knowing. Not knowing if she was alive. Not knowing if she had suffered. Not knowing anything at all. Authorities kept the case open. Every lead followed. Every rumor checked. But Karketa Taylor had vanished in a way that defied explanation. A hole opened in her family's life, one that no one could fill. And just when hope began to feel like a memory, everything changed. The days after Karketa Taylor disappeared felt endless to those who loved her. Time slowed, every hour stretched with uncertainty, and while others went back to their routines, her family was plunged into a nightmare that never let up. Her mother, Evelyn Taylor, refused to sit still. In the early hours of each morning, she made phone calls to police, to news stations, to anyone who might listen. By sunrise, she was out on foot, walking the neighborhoods with stacks of flyers, placing Karketa's face in every window, on every pole, outside every business that would allow it. The flyer was simple. A photo of Karketa, smiling, warm-eyed, full of life. Below it, missing. Last seen June 15th. Please help us bring her home. Her mother handed them out with trembling hands and a voice that rarely cracked. But behind her eyes was a storm that never settled. Her brother, Jamal, took to social media. He created a Facebook group that quickly gathered hundreds of members. They posted updates, organized search parties, tracked rumors. He live-streamed emotional pleas, sometimes from the front seat of his car, sometimes from the edge of wooded areas where volunteers searched. In one video, he said, "I'm not stopping. I don't care if it takes 5 days or 5 years. My sister's out there." Press conferences followed, one after another. The family stood in front of podiums, TV cameras rolling, the same message repeated, "We won't stop until we find her." But the cameras didn't always stay. Local news ran the story for a week. Then another case made headlines. Then another. And slowly, quietly, Karketa's face appeared less and less on the evening news. Still, the family pushed forward. They reached out to national advocacy groups. They contacted private investigators. They held candlelight vigils on every anniversary of her disappearance and every birthday she missed. Her daughter, only 7 at the time Karketa vanished, would release a balloon each year into the sky, watching it float away with a hope too heavy for a child to carry. Behind closed doors, grief took on its own shape. Sleep became difficult. Conversations were short. Smiles, when they came, were forced. The silence at home became suffocating. The Columbus Police Department assigned a lead detective early on, and they did what they could with what they had. They followed protocol, interviewed co-workers, searched digital trails. They looked into acquaintances, past relationships, former co-workers. They held back certain details from the public, hoping to preserve the integrity of the case. But despite their efforts, there was no break. They found no signs of struggle, no signs she had run away, no credit card activity, no GPS pings, no reliable witness came forward. And in time, the lead stopped. And so did the headlines. The case didn't close, but it cooled. And for 5 years, the Taylor family lived in the space between hope and heartbreak. Then, one phone call changed everything. 5 years is a long time to live without answers. In the first few weeks, tips poured in. Sightings from 3 towns over. A woman matching Karketa's description spotted at a gas station in Alabama. A vague message sent to her sister's inbox that simply read, "She's alive. Stop looking." Each one gave a jolt of hope. Each one was investigated, and each one led nowhere. For a time, the family would rush to any location mentioned in a tip, sometimes driving hours through the night, praying they'd find her standing there waiting. But every time they arrived, there was no Karketa, just another dead end. Online forums took notice. Her case appeared on blogs, podcasts, Facebook pages devoted to the missing. Some users speculated she left voluntarily. Others spun elaborate theories. A few claimed to have inside information. None of them were right. And as quickly as the internet took hold of her story, it let go. Months passed with no new headlines. Reporters stopped calling. Even among those who once shared her flyer daily, there was a quiet resignation. Some said it was time to accept the truth. Some stopped saying her name altogether, but not her mother, not her brother, not the few who refused to let her memory fade into a statistic. Evelyn kept her daughter's room exactly as it had been the day she vanished. Clothes in drawers, a framed photo on the dresser, a half-used bottle of perfume that still smelled like her. Jamal, meanwhile, continued to post updates, even if no one was watching. Day 983, one post read. Still no answers, still looking. The police kept the case open, but resources dwindled. New cases came in, urgent, active, demanding attention. Karketa's file was moved from a central desk to the cold case unit. A quiet shift, no formal announcement. Just one more missing person whose trail had gone cold. There were no breakthroughs, no new evidence, just the haunting absence of her. What haunted her family most weren't the theories. They could tune those out. It was the silence. No new clues, no goodbye, no confirmation of life or death. Just a long stretch of emptiness they were forced to live in. a waiting room with no exit. Every now and then, a new detective would take a second look. A fresh pair of eyes, another review of the file. But still, nothing. No motive, no suspects, no confirmed sightings. The day Karketa vanished remained a closed door no one could pry open. And still, Evelyn and Jamal kept showing up, year after year, pressuring officials, lighting candles, organizing marches. They refused to let her name be forgotten. They didn't know it at the time, but something was about to surface. Something that had been waiting in silence, just like them. After 5 years of darkness, a single thread emerged, and with it, the first real lead they'd had in half a decade. It started, as it so often does, with a single call. A quiet morning at the Columbus Police Department, nearly 5 years to the day since Karketa Taylor vanished, when an out-of-state detective phoned in a request, a routine inquiry on a different missing person case. But the name they mentioned was familiar. The case file was pulled, dates were checked and rechecked. Slowly, methodically, a thread began to unravel, one that had been buried under half a decade of silence. Authorities haven't disclosed what first raised the flag, but what we do know is that fingerprints, taken during a standard intake process in a rural Texas shelter, were submitted for review. The woman gave a name, but it didn't match the identity that came back. It matched someone who had been missing since 2018. Karketa Taylor, alive, after 5 years. She was found in Medina, Texas, a small town tucked into the hill country, far from the noise and cameras of a city. She had been living in a women's transitional shelter under a different name, carefully constructed, using fragments of truth and layers of fiction. To the staff, she was just another woman trying to escape her past. Quiet, careful, cooperative. When confronted with her real name, authorities say she froze. No panic, no tears, just stillness, as if she'd been waiting for this moment or dreading it. The news reached her family before the sun had fully risen. Evelyn Taylor was in her kitchen when detectives knocked. Her son, Jamal, received the call on his lunch break. The words came like a flood, ones they had stopped hoping to hear. "We've found her. She was alive. She was safe. She was coming home." But the relief didn't erase the questions. Where had she been? Why had she never reached out? What had kept her silent for so long? And the most painful question of all, had someone kept her from them? In the days that followed, answers came slowly and carefully. Investigators confirmed that Karketa had been living off-grid for years. No job under her legal name, no ID, no digital trail. She moved through shelters, motels, even lived on the street for a time. At one point, she worked in a roadside diner under the table. Each time, just long enough to disappear again. She never called home, not once. Police now believe foul play was involved at some stage, though the timeline remains unclear. One woman who stayed at the same shelter in Medina recalled Karketa saying she was running from someone. She spoke rarely, but her body, others noted, spoke volumes. Old scars, fresh bruises, and nightmares that shook her from sleep. Detectives have not revealed the full extent of her injuries, but unofficial sources say they're investigating a man Karketa dated before she vanished, a man with a controlling history and a warrant still active in another state. No charges have been filed. Not yet. Karketa's return home was private. No press, no spectacle. Just her family, waiting. Her daughter, now 12, was there. They embraced in silence. Witnesses say it was as if time paused. 2 lives, fractured by absence, trying to reconnect. Karketa hasn't spoken publicly. Her family has only said this: "We're together again." And that's enough for now. The investigation is still open. Police are retracing every step, every tip, every road overlooked. They are rebuilding the missing years piece by piece. The full story has yet to emerge. The why remains unanswered. But one truth stands clear. Karketa Taylor is no longer missing. She's home. And the truth is finally beginning to surface. The world learned Karketa Taylor was alive. But for her family, the journey to this point was nothing short of a miracle. The moment they embraced her was both an end and a beginning. An end to the years of uncertainty, the sleepless nights, the endless searching. And a beginning to the long road ahead. Karketa's mother, Evelyn, could only say, "It's like getting a piece of me back." Her voice, both trembling and resolute, spoke of the 5 long years that nearly shattered her. But now, a glimmer of hope returned to her heart. For Jamal, his sister's return meant that some wounds could start to heal. But even he couldn't shake the anger that simmered beneath his relief. Anger for the years lost, for the unanswered questions, for the silence that held his family captive. "We're still waiting for the truth," he said, "but we're together again, and that's what matters." The public, too, has reacted with shock and awe. Social media erupted in both disbelief and celebration. The number sign Find Karketa Taylor hashtag once a plea for answers now became a symbol of hope, a beacon for families still searching for their loved ones. But even as joy filled their hearts, the journey isn't over. The investigation continues. Karketa's case has not been fully closed. Law enforcement is working tirelessly to uncover exactly what happened during the years she was missing, who may have been responsible for her disappearance, and if charges will follow. As Karketa begins the difficult process of healing, her family holds quiet memorials for those who didn't make it home, those still missing, those who've been forgotten. These memorials, though small, remind us that we must continue to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. But even beyond the investigation and legal proceedings, Karketa's story carries a larger message. It is a reminder that no matter how dark the road may seem, there is always hope. There is always someone out there who cares enough to keep searching, to keep asking questions, to keep believing in the impossible. This case also serves as a rallying cry for others. The families of missing persons who walk the same uncertain path should not be forgotten. Awareness, vigilance, and action, those are the tools that lead to change. Karketa's family, now reunited, is asking for your help. Share this story. Keep her name alive. And remember, justice delayed is not justice denied. As the Taylor family continues to heal, as the investigation pushes forward, we are reminded of one simple truth. The fight doesn't stop with one case. The fight for justice is a collective one, and every voice matters.